Does that help?
No, I don't think so. Are you gonna get a drink?
Yeah. Do you want something or?
I don't think so.
Yeah. I got 2 people. Christy. Hello, Christy. How are you?
Is that live? Or is
Yep.
it the
It's
microphones are on?
Mm-hmm.
He went to go make a drink, but so I'm just waiting for him. He's teaching our 13-year-old how to make an old-fashioned, apparently, down there. It's important skills to learn during summer vacation. Then you were teaching her how to make a old-fashioned.
Hey, Rain. Is that you teaching?
Yeah, we're live. You can hear. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, Rain already knows how to make one. Sorry.
Yeah.
So she already knows how to make one. But she was asking about what I was putting in because this is the leftover candied orange sugar from those candied oranges that I made.
Oh, wow.
So it's like candied oranges and everything else. Let's go live. I think the live one is the one we want to do.
There we go.
Yeah, there we go.
And we're back.
There we are.
Waiting for, it's going to keep my phone closed. So that's one thing, if we get notification that the verdict comes back, we'll definitely live stream that.
Yeah. I mean, we might just
Twitter.
throw it up here and change the subject or something like that.
Oh, yeah, totally.
Yeah. I think this is a good way of doing it.
There's so many people outside of the courthouse.
Are there really?
On Twitter, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, okay. I need to take a sip. Yeah, that's really good. Okay.
You live stream into all the places, okay?
We are. We're live streaming everywhere, except for Facebook and X or not X, but TikTok because they don't like us. TikTok is awesome. You think it could be that quick? Well, I mean, if you look at the Daybell case, the only reason that they went to the next day was due to the fact that it was the end of the day when the closing arguments were done.
Yeah.
If they were to close at like 10 in the morning, that it would have been back by, I think, about 2 in the afternoon.
So you think we'll get a verdict today? I think,
don't think so.
I don't think so either. I think it's going to be, it's either going to be not guilty or it's going to be a hung jury. Like there's going to be one holdout that is convinced of.
She's guilty.
Yeah, guilt.
Look, I'm a police officer's cousin.
Yeah.
And I know for a fact she's guilty.
Where's my customer?
Yeah, and the thing about it too is what was I gonna say? No, I just lost my train of thought.
I don't know.
But how many jurors left the trial? Was I know there was 2 that I know of.
Well, the one I did see on Twitter that one. Yeah, I don't know if it's going to be that quick or not. I can see the chat like up here.
Mm-hmm.
One person said that there was one woman during the Proctor testimony that had the look of disgust on her face and was like horrified by what she saw. And she was the one that was let go. So she's not on the jury.
Wow.
She was an alternate.
Oh, she's an alternate. Okay. So it's not going to really affect too much, but.
No. Yeah. So they let her go there could be she's guilty person and it comes back as a hung jury. It's either going to be hung or not guilty. But if it's hung, then it could go on for days as they fight it out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree with that too. This trial was definitely on the weirder side.
Yeah. Yep.
And I would have to say that it does not compare to the Daybell trial.
And I'm wondering how it's going to compare to Lori Vallows in Arizona.
Yeah.
Like that one's going to be a whole lot different too, because for the first time we're going to see Lori Vallow not talk, but like see her on screen where we never saw that before. We only saw it at the very, very end during sentencing.
Right.
So we'll get to see her demeanor through. All we got to see were the accounts on Twitter of her demeanor. We didn't see anything else.
Yeah, and I always feel like those are the same things. Like when you're reading about like the Trump trial, it's just people talking about, oh, he did this or he did that, and it's like, well, what agenda do you have?
Yeah,
you know, like I mean, I don't doubt it, and I don't doubt that the way that people were describing Lori were accurate, but you don't really get to see it.
Not like
Chad was just like
it was so weird,
just sitting there like
his was just so weird.
He was like, did he turn his brain off or something?
Don't even
when he
know.
got into the trial.
Yeah, that was just so weird. So weird.
That's good. Yeah, so I know that's one thing we wanted to talk about was the Karen Reed trial. And do we have any information at all about the Lori Vallow trial?
I don't have anything. They're going to do another status update 1st of July.
Okay.
So then we'll know if the trial is going to happen in August.
Okay.
But the discovery there's so much discovery there. They just.
Right. And I think that was the last part that we heard was the fact that there were the 45 terabytes of data or whatever that both the prosecution and the defense had to go through. So that makes sense that they're not going to be ready until August by the earliest. But I also know too that they're butting into this the ability to have a speedy trial is kind of at risk.
Well, that's how she got the death penalty.
Yeah.
So, too bright in here.
Yeah, I was trying to turn it down, and now it doesn't want to react to me at all. What are you doing? Don't be stupid. All right, let me see if I can. Because it does not. Yeah, it's not going to the right thing. We'll get this sorted out.
No, it's really dark.
Yeah, and then it doesn't want to come on. What are you doing? Why are you doing this to me?
Wouldn't it be wild though if it was really that quick, Christy, like, if they came back in 45 minutes and are like, not guilty.
Yeah, that would be
just be
really weird.
Crazy. And then, and then the rest of Trooper Proctor's.
Say it right.
Trooper Proctor's.
Chupacabras.
The rest of his cases are put in danger, right? So apparently he is the main detective on another high-profile case also, where the husband killed the wife and cut her body up, and it's Trooper Proctor is the lead investigator on that. And it's like, where do you go with this?
Yeah,
and you see
exactly
what a terrible investigator it is. I think the Commonwealth would be so much better served to remove him and put someone else in place.
I totally agree with you. If I was coming at it from a standpoint, ambiance. Yeah, it's acting up. Everything's in reverse. Everything says it's on. And if I turn it off, then it doesn't do anything. It just comes back to saying on. But I'm trying to fix it.
We're just sitting in the dark. It's much cooler this way.
You actually think it makes a difference? It's doing nothing. I've never seen this before. It's like Skinwalker Ranch.
Yeah, it's exactly like Skinwalker Ranch.
Yeah, I know you're disconnected. Because you're not working. Come on. Yeah, seriously, this is the first time I've ever had an issue with these.
All right, well, quit messing with it.
I'm trying to turn it on. I want light. All right. You know what?
I think you only need one of them.
Yeah, but I can't even.
There it goes.
There we go. Yeah, I think that's good. If not, you're going to hurt me, aren't you? Okay, so do we have any other information on that case? I'm just curious.
On what case?
The husband that chopped up.
No, I don't know anything about it. All I know, it's another high-profile Massachusetts case.
Mm-hmm. A quick and not guilty verdict would be wild.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It'd be so wild. Just be like, oh my God, we were here. I mean, they came back. The last one we did with Chad Daybell, it was 9 hours. They came back with a guilty verdict.
Was that including the overnight time?
No, it took them 9 hours
of deliberation
and come up with a not guilty.
Yeah, and that one was pretty obvious.
Yeah, and I wonder with Lori Vallow when it comes up, that one's going to be pretty obvious too.
And that one is only for her husband. Her husband that was died under mysterious shooting circumstances.
And what's so weird too is that for
it's less than 3 for Murdoch.
Yeah, that was quick. That was another one. That was before we started kind of live streaming true crime.
Yeah.
But we were keeping tabs of the Murdoch stuff since it was so close.
Yeah, and I grew up in Savannah, so it was very reminiscent of lawyers and people that I've met in my career.
Just like the J.P. Miller and Mike Francis.
They all seem very familiar to me.
Yeah.
Like I've met them before.
They're all like leading characters in a story. They're great. Which
story
makes
that nobody wants to read.
Yeah, which makes these true crime stories so intriguing. The one in Massachusetts with the corrupt Boston Police Department, which we've had movies about. We've talked about this before. We have movies about Boston corruption. And so now we're seeing Boston corruption in real life. And then you've got the dynasty Southern lawyers, drug addict,
third generation
Southern
power,
lawyer, Southern lawyer that has it felt like a movie. Like that whole Murdoch thing felt like a movie.
Yeah. And how he was trying to defend himself and and even the covering up of his son who possibly murdered a girl and the other son who possibly murdered a gay kid. It's just like the intrigue was it's thick.
Yeah, very intriguing.
Yeah, so the lead offensive attorney for Murdaugh, lost his state Senate primary. Yeah, that was shocking. That's a shocking one, right?
Yep.
I hadn't been following up on the Murdaugh case
lately.
Yeah, just the stuff that's been coming up on the news.
Well, I know that Buster's suing a bunch of people.
Yes.
Because, I mean...
But the Netflix. He's suing Netflix is one of them.
Everyone's suing Netflix. So is the reindeer... What is it called? Reindeer? Baby reindeer?
Baby reindeer. Reindeer James.
Okay. The real Martha, she's suing Netflix.
Yeah.
For like, I don't know, so like 100 million pounds or something, like something outrageous.
So not real money.
Yeah. It's like, damn.
That sounds fake.
Jeez. I bet everyone's, you know who's not suing Netflix is Lori Daybell's son. He's not suing, but he's been doing GoFundMe for money.
Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah.
That's not Chad, is it? You know what I'm about?
No, the son.
No, Chad. Oh, okay. See, I'm getting Chad Frankie mixed up again. I always do that because they all have.
Yeah.
All
those Mormon
they all run
names.
the same. Yeah, and that's not a name we've brought up recently either. Is
Chad Frankie,
or the Frankies, or Hildebrand, or Colby Ryan.
Colby Ryan, yep.
And and you always have a hard time remembering Colby's name.
I have a hard time remembering his name. Even during the trial, I was like, because they were making fun of Colby when Chad was in the back of the car with Emma Daybell, they were like making fun of Colby, and I was like, what is his name? I couldn't remember his name.
Who was making fun of them? Was
the two of them?
The Chad, really?
Yeah, Chad and Emma. Remember when he was in the back of the police car, and he said, "I'm not coming back." Yeah, but they were like talking shit about Colby already. Yeah.
Jeez. Okay.
That was weird. Weird drama.
That's a weird thing to do at that time.
I got nothing. I got nothing for you.
Yeah.
It's like the weirdos calling other people weirdos. Yeah. Just like, what's that? What's that even?
Yeah, I'm not in a cult. You're in a cult.
Yeah. You're the cult leader. I'm not the cult leader. We're not wearing Kelly green.
Oh my God.
We all wear Kelly green. We're different. We don't wear purple.
Speaking of cults, you found a new one.
I did. And we're gonna film about the new cult. It's actually kind of a crazy one. It's called Profundity Yours. And the reason why it came across my feed was because they bought a cafe in this speck of a place in Texas near Texarkana. So it's where Texas and Arkansas and what's the other state? Mississippi, kind of that little area where they meet. And that's the city that this cult is trying to take over.
Armpit.
And the residents of this little city were afraid that they were going to get Rajneeshishtan, you know, where the Rajneeshishtan
country?
Yeah, where the wild country people took over that city in Oregon, and they were afraid that was going to happen to them. So they were like all over Twitter freaking out.
Oh God.
These people, but it's just middle-aged women going through trauma who are ending up in this cult.
Sure, but
it's a dangerous cult. Everything I saw, it's like, I think you read, it's Heaven's Gate in a trailer park.
Yeah, Trailer Park Heaven's Gate.
Trailer Park Heaven's Gate, which is not funny, but so funny.
But funny.
Not funny, but funny. But it's dangerous, right? Because they predicted the end of the world, and then it didn't happen. And when things like that can go wrong for a group.
Yeah. And I think that's true for a lot of people too, is especially whenever you start getting into like Lori Vallow and Chad Daybell and all of them. It's like, yeah, that true crime hooks you, but then you start to realize how dangerous these things could have gotten to with that cult mentality behind it.
Well, and that's the Jody Hildebrandt and
with the Deliverance soundtrack.
Right. Yeah. Actually, it'd be funny.
Oh, yeah, but do you want to get sued? I mean,
yeah. Well, we could do our own banjo music. Our own crazy banjo music. Well, that's what I always felt about
squeal, baby, squeal.
Jody Hildebrandt was they were on the verge of some serious. Those kids were on death's door. Those kids were so close to dying.
Well, the same thing with Chad is like
whole different story.
When he was like whole families were that it could have turned out much worse.
Yeah.
But like you look at the Daybell, Chad and his thing, like anybody he labeled as dark, even if he didn't have anything to do with it, like people were dying that he labeled dark, and then he labeled the whole family dark.
Yeah, the Boudreaux. All those Boudreaux kids. You're not like on the microphone, just so you know.
Yeah. Can you hear me now?
Yeah. And I think about those Boudreaux children and how scary Brandon must have been to know how close his children were to dying.
That one kid, what's his name? The kid that named
Canyon something. I love Canyon Wyatt.
Canyon Wyatt.
He's my favorite character of the whole Chad Daybell case. Canyon Wyatt. I know, it's like the best name ever. Canyon Wyatt.
And I still feel like he's like a character from The Simpsons or something like that.
Yeah, he's just some normal 88.
Oh, Parks and Rec. That was the thing.
Yeah.
He was the evil kid from Parks and Rec.
Yeah. Just Canyon Wyatt, just this normal 12-year-old doing 12-year-old things.
And then all of a sudden his name is like in this death cult thing, and you're just like, that's awesome.
Yeah. He's probably like, yeah.
He probably tells everybody that, man, I almost died from a cult, man. That was awesome.
Yeah. That would be something Canyon Wyatt would do. We've created this whole persona around this kid. We have no idea who he is. It's just we know the Daybells didn't like him, so we like him a lot.
Oh my God. Yeah. Like he'd probably annoy you within 5 minutes, but you still love him.
Yeah.
He's a lovable ragamuffin.
Anyone who annoys cult leaders, we love.
Yeah, that is true. That is true. And so speaking of people that annoy cult leaders, we've got this one guy who's TikTok we've been watching, who's the cult hunter. Mm-hmm. He calls himself the cult hunter. His videos are good.
Yeah, they're good. Yeah. They're good. Yeah, he's doing a good job. He's for profundity yours.
Canyon must be a badass.
Yeah. We love Canyon. Such a great name.
It is. And I want to know what he did. Like, I want to know what shenanigans he was up to in that neighborhood.
To make the Daybells hate him. Yeah. They really didn't like him. Enough to be called out in a major trial.
Exactly. Hey, Deborah from Oregon.
Nice.
How's it going? Wait, what time is it in Oregon? So that would be what, 12:20? You guys Pacific Coast time, right?
12:20. Lunchtime. Lunchtime. So the Scientologists are still fighting. Okay. Scientologists are the former Scientologists.
Former, you can't call them ex-Scientologists. You have to call them former.
Former Scientologists, they're still fighting. And I still feel the same way that I felt last time about it. It's like, no big deal.
Yes.
But apparently the live stream I was watching from the former Scientologist, Leah Remini's lawyers dropped her. And
really?
Yeah, they said it was a conflict. I think those same lawyers are representing some of the Jane Does that were against that actor. Sorry, it's been a long day. A lot of names. I'm usually really good with names.
What was the actor? Was it the
actor that was just hurt?
From that '70s show.
Mm-hmm.
That '70s show actor that was found guilty of rape.
Yeah, I don't think you can say that word.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I know that.
That '70s show. Who was it? Danny Masterson.
That's it.
Danny Masterson.
Yeah.
So the legal teams that were representing Danny Masterson accusers are now suing Scientology and some of the leaders and for their handling of that situation.
Good on them.
And I think Leah Remini was also suing Scientology and Dave Miscavige, and there was some kind of conflict between the two of them. Yeah. And so the legal team dropped Leah Remini and is still representing the Jane Does from the Danny Masterson situation.
Gotcha. That's interesting.
Yeah, so they're all kind of in this drama with the former Scientologists. But I mean, they all have their different ways of approaching their trauma. And
yeah, which is how you would expect humans to behave, and not as one group being told what to do by a central authority figure.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. I just
for everyone that wasn't on our previous live stream, is Nicole made the mention that the former Scientologists are all kind of complaining that we shouldn't be arguing because it gives Scientology ammunition against us. So they're going to show it like, see, you guys are fighting, and that's just going to give them like, oh, look, you should stick with us, because if you leave, you're just going to be arguing with one another. But the reality is, you're not in a cult anymore. You can feel how you want to feel and argue whatever you want to argue. And so the fact that they are arguing with each other shows that they're doing critical thinking for themselves, and they're not following the central theme, which is...
And I think a lot of people, once they leave a cult, they gravitate towards those bigger names. Mm-hmm. So you leave Scientology and you gravitate towards Leah Remini and Mike Rinder, and don't realize that there's other people out there that may represent your voice better than those two.
Yes.
But because they're the biggest voice and the biggest names, they get a following. And so it's kind of, you jump from one cult thinking to kind of another cult thinking.
It's like, it's not the People's Front of Judea, it's the Judea's People Front.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Splitter.
Yeah. Yeah.
It is that same concept of that, you know, they're both, and it's like the Fallout line I love is that everybody has their, everybody wants to save the world. They just have different ideas how to do it. Mm-hmm. And then they get into major fights about it.
Yeah. And they're not in a cult anymore, so they can fight, and good on them for expressing how they feel and expressing what they think
about emotions. And
yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you can call out Mike Rinder for what he has done or hasn't done. And they're still kind of fighting about that, and fighting about some of the board member. There was a particular board member in the Aftermath organization that was, I don't know exactly what he did, but he did some unsavory things.
Sure.
And apparently Leah Remini and Mike Rinder knew about it and didn't do anything. So
even with ex-cult members, there's still cover-up in the organization.
Yeah. So, you know, it's okay now to call that stuff out. It's okay to call people out for their actions.
Yeah.
And you should. And they should be called out. Doesn't mean they're doing bad work or any kind of work.
Yeah. Ooh, sunny in the mid-80s this afternoon in Pacific Northwest.
Oh, wow. That's nice.
So you're about 20 miles west of Portland. Oh, yeah.
Sunny,
an hour and a change from the coast. That sounds nice. It is 97 today, and that was cooler than yesterday. Yesterday, I think, was 98. So we're going to be in the high 90s all week.
And I think we're at like
Atlanta.
90% humidity.
Yeah.
Actually, it rained a couple of days ago, so the humidity might not be as high right now.
Yeah, so it's 93, 94 right now. Yeah. I'm jealous of the mid 80s.
I know. Yeah, that's from the South. We're like, oh my God. Mid 80s.
Although the pool was nice when it was 97. But it's still like, I went outside to water the plants, and 3 minutes in, like, I was already feeling the effects of the heat within 3 minutes. It's awful.
It is.
It's really awful. But I love that area up in the Pacific Northwest. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Like, it is way too hot with humidity.
It is miserable right now. We are in the misery part of the year.
So I think it was like 103 heat index or something like that. You know, we're not in Arizona or, you know, in areas that are like super bad as far as the heat goes. But with that humidity, nothing like New Orleans, I will have to say. I still think New Orleans is so much worse than here or Savannah.
Really?
Yes. Yeah. Because I was living in Savannah, and it was one of the hottest days of the year, and landed in New Orleans like, you know, a couple hours later, and it was so much worse. It was like twice as bad as when I left. And I was like, this is, how do people live here?
You don't ever go outside. It's like living in Bahrain. You don't ever leave.
Yeah. The heat index is 107 in Colombia today. Yeah. Memphis can be bad as well. I agree with that as well.
Yep.
But you can go see Elvis's tax return there. So, right.
Yeah. I took my kids to Memphis for spring break last year, 2023, and made them go see Graceland, and they hated it. They were so angry at me. And then
well, they're angry at us for everything we do.
They were really angry about going to see Graceland, and they were angry through the whole thing until we got to Elvis's tax returns, and then they just started laughing, and they had a great time after that.
I think it took them a while to figure out that, like, hey, you can laugh at this. Like, everything here, this is not a serious thing that we're doing right now. Oh, that's too funny.
Yeah,
oh my gosh.
They were miserable. They hated it. But then they liked seeing his tax returns. Love Memphis, though.
Oh, yeah.
All right, so the other thing I want to talk about today is
Talk to me.
The TikTok cult. The Netflix TikTok.
7M.
7M, yeah. And
which would be
7
okay.
7M.
Sorry, there's my joke.
Yeah. Have y'all seen the full thing? I haven't been able to finish it.
Did it get too real for you, or
yeah, it got too real for me.
Yeah.
So when the sister, and it brought up a bunch of like issues that I didn't realize I needed to work through. So when the sister said about the other sister that was still imprisoned by Robert Shen in the Shekinah church, she said she didn't know who her sister was anymore. And that hit me, and they were able to reconnect after that point. But I had to stop watching. It was too much, because it reminded me of some of the friends that I had who had left the cult that I was raised in, and how I would love to reconnect with them, but I don't know who they are anymore. They don't know who I am, and I don't know who they are.
Right. And are you referring to, let me pop this out because it's not updating in that now.
Is it broken?
That is. I don't know why. That's the one that usually always works, but
too blind to see chat.
Yeah. There we go. Okay. So Chrissy's just saying I started watching it, and Deborah's talking about the weather, the humidity in North Carolina. Yeah, North Carolina is much milder and nicer.
It's still pretty humid,
but it's still humid. It's just that that whole area just keeps the moisture in the air for so long. And even with the air conditioner, like in New Orleans, like the air conditioner, you'd have it on and you'd just be sweating, and like full air conditioner blasting on you. Or you take a shower and you get out and you're sweating out of the shower. It's like, it was just not enjoyable.
That's Georgia.
That was New Orleans, is what I'm saying. But yeah, Georgia's not as bad, but it's pretty bad. New Zealand's bad too. New Zealand, their humidity is so bad that like they have to put their dehumidifiers in their closets, or else the walls turn green. So like if you hang up something that has got a little bit of dampness to it, it never dries, and you'll get mildew on your clothes.
Wow.
So they have to put dehumidifiers in there just to allow the clothes to dry. Like, that sounds terrible.
That does sound terrible.
Yeah, so these people that have left 7M, they're seeing, I think, what a lot of people see when they leave these high control groups, which is you never know who you're talking to. So if someone's still in the cult, or maybe they're out because they have to be, are they really out, or are they just kind of faking it to make it kind of thing?
No, I think, yeah, I mean, maybe, but more realistically, it's the person has changed so much, and you have changed so much that it's like almost impossible for me to recognize you. So when I was in the cult, my best friend, and also too, like stepping back.
I know. It's hard to, because you got like 5 different things you need to say.
Yeah. I forgot what I was going to say now.
You're talking about your friend who from Utah, who you had seen, you grew up with in high school. You were trying to, I remember this story. You were trying to reach out to her to talk to her about something I can't remember. And it's like, would she even know who I am or be okay with me, or the other Asian girl that, because I think they lost their friendship because of the actions of one of them.
You're close.
Yeah, I know. I'm trying to summarize the story, of what you told me one time before.
Yeah. So my best friend in the cult, we were both fully indoctrinated and we're just gung-ho 100%. This is our lives. And a bunch of stuff led to my waking up and leaving. And she still is in. Her and her husband are still in, and they are missionaries and they're doing their thing. I think they're in the Philippines, or they were in the Philippines for a long time. And she's fully indoctrinated. Her sister, who was always kind of around as we were fully indoctrinated, when she turned 18, she realized it was a cult. She knew from the beginning that we were in a cult, and she tried to tell us and she tried to warn us, but we were not in a mental place where we could hear that.
Yeah.
And so she left, and I have so much guilt about the way that I treated her, because at the time she was like family.
Yeah. And she's now an apostate, so you are shunning,
Yeah, she's an apostate, or she was then.
Yeah, yeah.
And her sister we didn't even attend her wedding. She got married. She adopted a baby. We didn't ever meet the baby. Like all kinds of stuff that happened.
She was living her life, but you were like
shunning her. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then years later, when I left and I woke up, we connected, but there was this very strained friendship because, and it was like the Shekinah stuff.
Right.
She didn't know who I was, and I didn't know who she was anymore.
Yeah, exactly. So, I don't know if you can see the chat there.
I can't.
Okay, so Christy's asking, are you still in touch with each other?
No, we've completely lost touch. So that's that. She had a lot of trepidation around being friends with me, and then she would break off, and she would be nice and polite, but I think there was too much trauma there for her.
Yeah.
For us. And it was weird.
And lack of trust too.
And also too, because we would talk, and we have this trauma together where she lost her sister and her family, and I lost my best friend, who I would give my right arm to just have another conversation with,
Yeah.
because I loved her. She was my best friend. And even if she left the cult and realized that she was in a cult and realized that she was fully indoctrinated, I wouldn't know who she was anymore.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, you guys have drifted apart just even for a matter of time.
And it's not like those friendships where you were friends and you kind of lost touch and then you reconnect, and it's kind of like where you left off, 10 years ago.
Yeah.
It's not like that. There's this strain of...
It's like friends and you shot her dog, and
of
never going to forgive you for that. Yeah.
Hurt and trauma. And you shot the dog because the religious leader told you to do this, this trauma. And so when I was watching that, I was like, this is a little bit too much for me. I even like looked her up on Facebook because I wanted to see. I wanted to reach out to her,
but she's not on anymore.
And she's not on anymore, and she hasn't responded.
Yeah.
So it's this weird. It's like I said last time. It's that triangle of trauma, right? You start from the top, and it kind of just works its way down. You start with the cult leader or the cult organization, and that trauma just kind of trickles down.
Yeah, exactly.
And you leave, and you feel guilt, and I imagine this is how Mike Rinder feels also, because he caused a lot of damage.
Yeah,
he ruined people's lives.
And the question that I have with that is, what do when you pay back someone?
Retribution?
No, that's an evil.
Revenge?
Yes. That how do you revenge?
How do you revenge against Mark?
No. How do you pay back something that you've done that's so traumatic to someone? And even that we know that this is all under this guise of, control.
You still willingly did it. You still willingly participated in the hurt of another person.
Yeah. And can you pay that back? Because we have this one instance where this is an organizational thing, but the way every cult that I've done research on, it's always the same way, which is you're taking those teachings and you are breaking someone to the point that they are going to keep doing that. And I think that's that triangle thing that you're talking about. It starts from one and then
goes down.
And then it goes down. So so you're not only dealing with your trauma, but you're also dealing with the trauma of the trauma that you caused to multiple people underneath you as well.
Right. And also that you caused yourself. Mm-hmm. You were traumatizing yourself over and over again.
It doesn't work let me rephrase that actually. It can work that the magic or the spell is only there whenever the cult leader is there and speaking. Because there's been cases where the cult leader dies and it's just everybody just kind of disperses after that.
Yeah.
But those kind of cults are the generational ones where...
And I was in a generational one.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it's not only this is what a prophet or a group of elders or whatever you want to call it are telling you, but it's also that my grandparents and my great-grandparents all are saying the same thing. They all lived their life. So you're not only leaving this high control group, you're leaving your whole family history as well.
Yeah.
And that's extra trauma. That is like genetic trauma that will take generations to get rid of.
And all those people have to shun you by the teachings.
Yep. So much toxicity in the name of religion. Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yep.
And me and Nicole have a lot of conversations around religions and pros, cons, and stuff like that. I mean, I have my own opinions about it that I talk about a lot. But the issue that I have is I don't have a problem per se with belief. I have a problem with religion. It's like as soon as people get together and start to, well, no, it says this, or no, it doesn't say this, or my religion allows me to, or my religion doesn't allow me to. It's like, well, why? Then why are you there? What is the purpose of this other than control or,
Well, it's a way not to think. It's a way to have someone give the answers because life is so hard. And it's a way that...
But I don't think ever, so.
Exactly. So you're prime suspect to join a cult. There's a really good one called Profundity Yours.
Ooh, really? Tell me about it.
Which is a joke you're going to hear. She doesn't smoke cigarettes. She eats them. Our cat just came in with a mouthful of plastic like he had a dead rat.
I thought it was a dead rat in his mouth first.
It's plastic.
And you can hear him crunching on it.
I don't even know what is wrong with this cat.
Hey, you have issues. What are you doing? Yeah, eat him next to those wires.
Where did he get that?
I don't know, but he's chewing on them next to the high voltage wires over there.
Goodness.
If we lose the feed, we know why.
Cat. My goodness. Yeah, and there's another cult that recently has come up in the last week or so. Another cult that I didn't know about, and it's the Church with No Name.
Two by two cult.
I love that church. The Church with No Name.
It just sounds like a song.
Yeah, what's the song?
It's I rode through the desert on a horse with no name.
On a horse with no name, but this is the Church with No Name, or the 2x2s.
The 2x2s. Hands of blue.
2x2s, hands of blue.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this one is.
God, we're so big nerds.
Yeah, totally. And this church is so under the radar.
Church.
They have no real structure.
I guess it would be a church.
But they meet in people's homes.
Yeah.
And they call them the 2x2s because it's either 2 men ministers or 2 women ministers. And they lead this itinerant lifestyle like the apostles, like of old times and from the Bible.
And when we were talking about it, I was saying that it actually feels like the cult of Pythagoras. If you go back to the original cult, before time immemorial, it's
their first original recorded cult.
Yeah. That's like that's like saying, what was the first person to use a tool? I'm sure there was hundreds of thousands that occurred kind of in different areas. There were thousands of cults at that time.
Mm-hmm. You had to be. I mean, that's how we survived. Mm-hmm. We survived in these groups with a strong leader. Yep. I mean, we're pack animals, so that goes into that cult mindset. Just so that
we're wired for control.
Yeah.
As well as wired for taking control.
Yeah. When someone has that control.
Mm-hmm.
So what happens is the 2 people go and they stay in the house, and what's come out is that those itinerant ministers were actually grooming children and were grooming the families that they were staying in. And now the women have grown up and they're telling their stories about what had happened to them. And these itinerant ministers actually admitted to what they did.
Yeah.
So apparently the FBI is involved and is researching and investigating, but the statute of limitations is up, which is a problem in most states.
Yeah, but they can get them on RICO charges as well. So can you have a cult of personality within a religious cult? Oh, yes.
I think that's where the Mormons shine.
Yeah, well,
I think the Mormons.
We look at J.P. Miller as well. He is definitely a cult of personality within. Within religious cult. I apologize. Yes, I got you now.
And I think that's where the Mormons really kind of come through, because the Mormons, they are a cult, right? But then you've got these tons of offshoots, like the Chad Daybell or the Jody Hildebrandt, that are Mormon, but they take their beliefs to this extreme.
Yeah. So if you here's a great example is the Branch Davidian. So he was definitely a cult of personality within a religious cult. So he took over a religious cult.
Yeah.
So the Branch Davidians were already a religious cult, and then he was a cult of personality that took it over. So he was this amplification of the indoctrination that was already occurring.
Yeah, he won succession.
Yeah, but basically, I think the leader had died, and he took it over under questionable things that occurred. But he would be a good example of a cult of personality within a religious cult. And if you also look at the People's Temple, I would say that their idea was also a religious cult with him as a cult of personality as well.
Yeah, because they were part of larger organizations.
Yeah.
But the larger organizations that they were part of were not necessarily cults. Not like the Mormon Church. Really?
Yeah. So there were 5 organizations that they joined throughout the People's Temple, and 2 of them were considered to be cults on their own. And he was also, looking at other cult of personalities, religious cults as well, and trying to take them over as well. If you look at there's a cat.
Father Divine.
Father Divine.
Father Divine was definitely a cult leader.
Yeah. So his Tim Ballard.
Yeah, so Tim, we have not talked about Tim Ballard yet, and I haven't talked to Carl about it, but it is something that's on my to-do list. Mm-hmm. So Tim Ballard, disciple of Christ. Yeah, definitely. A disciple of Christ and the Jehovah's Witnesses. They're very similar.
Are they?
So, yeah, all you're going to see is this gray blob.
Come on, cat.
So Tim Ballard.
There you go. Good boy.
Is somebody we need to do a full podcast
so
you can learn about him. But he created an organization like Save the Children. I don't know the exact names of anything quite yet, but he's a Mormon, and he was saving children.
Shocker.
They made a movie about him with the Arrow guy. Who's the Arrow guy? The Marvel Arrow guy.
Oh yeah, I know who you're talking about. The guy, the snowplow guy.
Him. So he was in it, and it was about saving the children. And well, it turns out Tim Ballard was not the greatest person. I think he was embezzling funds and doing a lot of shady stuff. And after the movie came out, it was a lot of people came forward talking about how terrible he really was.
Yeah.
So we need to do a podcast. I need to teach you. We need to learn. I need to teach you. I need to teach you about that. It came out really wrong. I need to lecture you. No. I need to educate you.
Learn me.
I need to learn you.
Learn you about some cults.
Yeah. About Tim Ballard. Because there's so many, the Mormons. And then, like, you've got all of the FLDS people, the Warren Jeffs. And another one that's really interesting to me, too, is the ones from Mexico, the ones that died in Mexico. They were all in a cult. Remember their car got bombed?
Oh, yes.
By a Mexican cartel?
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. And they were there to prophesize to something.
I thought they were just going to a wedding, but they were.
Oh, that's right. That was the wedding one. Yeah. Yeah. That's right. They were.
Yeah, the Mormon Church really does have a lot of like cults within cults.
Well, it'll also be interesting too to see, did the cartel that killed them, were they part of El Morte, which is a cult? Cults killing cults.
Cults killing cults. That's how it is in Nigeria. That's what's happening in Nigeria.
Well, we also had the Mormon cults that were killing each other too.
Yeah. Yep.
Remember that documentary?
In Japan, the cults that were trying to kill the other cults. The Happy Science
and Shrinkyo
was trying to kill Happy Science, and it's like your cult's better than my cult. And
have you guys heard about Happy Science cult? This is it's still probably on my top 5 favorite funny cults, because like Shrinkyo is
scary,
is my top one. Like to me there is no more of a dangerous cult. Now they don't have the amount of deaths that like Jonestown has, but Shrinkyo was like, as far as preparation goes, they were they were going to get probably a couple 100,000 deaths. Oh, thank you for that. Yeah. So the Happy Science is it's just fun. It really is. But Happy Science, the leader of that group, was basically in a anime fight against the leader of Shrinkyo. So Shrinkyo decides to put nerve gas into the air conditioning of his car to silence him, and it failed.
Yeah.
They
failed a lot.
They failed a lot, and if they succeeded, because they were building sarin gas and they were uranium mining, to basically build a dirty bomb for Japan. But they had 5 bombs failed, and if one of those bombs had succeeded, the death toll would have been in the hundreds of thousands, not 13 that they get in the for the sarin gas attack. But they moved up to like the VX nerve agent, which is a lot deadlier than sarin gas.
It's so awful.
Yeah. They also bought an attack helicopter. That's the thing that gets me. They bought a Russian attack helicopter and smuggled it in Japan. So there was a Russian attack helicopter in Japan that was smuggled underneath the authorities' noses because a lot of the authorities were also part of Armed Shrink.
Yes.
It's just like, yeah, cults fighting other cults. Usually doesn't end well.
No, but it is funny. It is funny. Cults fighting cults.
The Mormon one was awful. The two Mormon groups that were fighting each other, because they were wiping out women and children. And
I don't remember this. I don't know this story.
So I'm trying to remember the story, but it was one of the members was trying to, like, I think the patriarch of the family had died, and there was like two members that were trying to.
They were part of the same cult, and it was that they had left.
Yes.
So they had left the cult, and that's why they were killing them.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So they
because they weren't like believer enough or non-believers or whatever the reason.
And then they had the whole succession, like who would succeed in leadership. Yes. Yeah. And then a lot of those people that didn't succeed were murdered also. And
that's never caused any problems, especially like the Shiites and the Sunnis, that never has caused a problem.
Yeah.
In the history of
and that's
religion.
Cults killing cults, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And that was pretty bloody, though. And I think they even tried to bomb at one point. I can't remember. Like that one's kind of hazy in the back of my mind. That story about those Mormons, but that was one. So we got the 2x2 cult. Going back again, because I want to keep on that topic. Was there anything else that you wanted to talk about? Because I know the FBI is looking at them right now. They're doing an investigation.
That's what Frontline said. And it was new. A lot of their stuff felt very familiar. So they call their organization The Truth. And that's very familiar.
That's what, Shrinkio is called Divine Truth.
The Truth. Yeah, so like if you're in a cult, you get these labels. And what's so interesting is like Jehovah's Witnesses, people who leave the Jehovah's Witness group, they still refer to the religion as the truth. And you're like, you've left, you know you were in a cult, and yet you still call it the truth.
Well,
so it's like that
Pavlovian response. Yeah.
It's that brain programming. Because if you can get someone to say, I'm in the truth, there's power in that.
Yeah.
There's power in, like, we have the right way. We have the way. So the 2x2, the Church with No Name, they believe that they are the truth also. They call themselves the truth. They also call themselves the way, which a lot of people say that. That's another.
The way and the truth.
The way and the truth.
I've heard that before, like in a sentence, like we are the way, we are the truth.
We are the way. Yeah. And that's another way to condition people's mind through words, is by saying we have the right way.
Well, it's also, I believe too, it's that repetition too. You say it enough times, and then it's almost that you're not even thinking about it anymore. You're just saying the truth, and you're like, oh, crap, I can't believe I just said that.
Yeah. It used to shock me that there were people that had left the Jehovah's Witness cult and still called it the truth.
Maybe they were being sarcastic?
No, it was.
I know.
Just like, I know. It is programming.
Yeah, that's terrible.
Yeah. So the 2x2s, and then they had another thing there where they said they had no rules. When they were interviewing somebody, and this leader in their group said, we have no rules. Well, what he meant to say, or the truth is, we have no rules that are written down, but they shun people for not following the rules.
The unwritten rules.
The unwritten rules. And so they have a ton of unwritten rules.
It's unwritten rules of the road.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's how to behave. It's controlling your behavior.
Again, it's right back to Pythagoras again. It's the same exact thing. It was actually in their doctrines to not write down the teachings of Pythagoras. He's going to teach you directly, one-on-one. and there's special secret knowledge that only he knows that he's going to pass down to you. And they do a test. And if you don't match that test, you get put into these 3 different categories of you're a learner, you're a listener, or there was a third one. I can't remember what it is. And each one of them is going to learn their own super secret thing where they can't tell each other.
And that's how you create isolated individuals and you control their minds. Yeah. And that's, so I'm in the middle of a book called The Sorcerer's Apprentice. Really good book. And it's from the sorcerer Carlos Castaneda's. And he did the same thing as that. Like, he would give special information to certain people and not to other people. And that would create that sense of, I'm special through this holy man, this shaman.
Right.
And then they would join his cult.
Yeah, because I mean, like, how mysterious is it? You know, like, well, what about this? Well, what about this? This religion you're part of? Oh, it's secret. There's knowledge that nobody knows. It's like, well, then I need to. What is wrong with you? There's only the secret information. That, I'm not special enough, or I'm not smart enough, or religious enough to gain this information. So I just need to pray harder.
Yeah.
Or work harder. And then again, it goes back to that unfulfilled. You're never going to get to.
Yeah, you can never please the leader. And that was the same with what I saw with the 2x2, the church with no name, is that you could never, whatever you did was never enough for the people. But I don't even know how you would become a member, because it seems so closed.
Well, do they have a website and instructions on how to meet, or
no?
Or
nothing.
Do you have to find a special book that's at the Vatican and then find the clues and follow them?
You got an old Dan Brown thing to become a member. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, now the Jehovah's Witnesses are like, I don't think they even go door to door. I don't even know what they do.
Actually, there's another interesting cult idea too, is the cult of George Washington, and that is a thing. Dan Brown actually did a book about it, which I thought was hilarious. So I did my research, because Dan Brown is like, he does use real historical information and then just blows it out of the water. But the Washington, D.C., when they were building it, they wanted to erect monuments, like almost religious level monuments of the deification of George Washington. And there are pictures, there are big murals with him acting as God, blessing things and everything else. So
interesting.
There's this whole subsection of American culture where we could have gotten into a
monarchy,
religious cult, not even a monarchy. Monarchy, at least, the peasants couldn't argue, but they could think like, oh, these people are horrible. But it was like, if you said anything bad about George Washington, you were basically ostracized. And
I think that still holds true today.
It does, but that's part of it. It's that nationalistic pride, and then we're going into the victory cult kind of mentality as well. But at least I could sit there and say, Washington had slaves, and
did he?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, like he did, and people have tried to sweep that under the rug. Yeah. It's like that. Just he was a smart farm owner. I'm like, no, he had slaves and he used them, and he might have been nice to them, but they still were slaves. It doesn't matter. So, so it's the same thing. It's the deification of any important character. He definitely was a cult of personality at the time, and I think he saw it coming, and I think he tried to. That's why he did everything that he did, which was, 2 terms. You can't let people just keep going on forever. We gotta put a limit on this because you guys are crazy.
Are you gonna start quoting John Adams in the lowly fashion? You're just gonna bang your head against the microphone.
And to quote a president who was also a lawyer, John Adams. Like, oh my gosh.
That was brutal. That was so bad.
Lowry?
Lully.
Lully was terrible. And there's a guy who makes fun of that Karen Reed trial. Do you know the name of his channel?
I think it's called Auntie Deb.
Yeah, you need to look it up. This guy's
is a young kid.
A young kid. He's doing really good.
He's really funny.
He's doing the Lord's work.
He is. Yes. He really is. He's got the fan on, which I love. Like, he's so funny.
And he's trying to do, his bad Boston accents, which I adore.
Yeah, he's really cute.
Yeah. All right. So what about you guys? Is there like any trials or cults or anything that you guys are following that, we would find interesting? Because
I think Christy was talking about Micah Francis Miller,
mm-hmm.
and the autopsy was released.
Right.
And the toxicology was released, and she didn't have any drugs or alcohol in her system.
I wouldn't have thought that she would.
And it was labeled self-harm.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't labeled a murder.
Yeah. And I still don't know what to think about it, but.
Yeah. I don't think there was really anything shocking to me that came out of that,
right.
But they said new information. You can see the body diagram, but it looks pretty.
Yep.
There's nothing real shocking there.
Just unfortunate, and JP is a piece of crap.
Mm-hmm.
So that's my opinion.
He's so gross.
Yes.
He's so gross. And another shocking thing too was how packed that church was
after all that happened.
Yeah, recently. So if you look on Twitter, you can see people are still attending that church. They are so disconnected from his behavior. They just accept it, or he has such control over them that they just believe whatever he says. I don't know.
I just find it disgusting. That's my opinion on it. The whole thing. But it also, none of that shocks me. None of the way that the church is behaving, the church elders, or I don't know. There's always, every church has their own terms.
Well, they haven't removed him.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Well, because I don't even know if that.
Bring in the money.
He's bringing, if it's his church, and I don't know the politics of those small churches.
Which, Christy, you have to be more specific. Which one? Because the one that we saw was the one that he was out of the truck. Like he was on the truck going crazy, screaming. And then the other one was where he was dressed up as Spider-Man in his DeLorean driving around the neighborhood. And then the other one was where he was spouting off nonsense about his wife that was dead with him in front of a life-size Spider-Man. Like he's had a lot of different.
I don't think he's posting anymore. I think finally his lawyer got to him and said, "You need to stop."
Well, that's what I said. I'm like, what lawyer is allowing this to happen? If I was his lawyer, or even like someone that knew him, I'd be like, dude, you
need to stop right now.
Because even if you're right, you're not helping yourself. That's narcissist. That's a narcissist behavior.
He is a classic narcissist. Everything has to be about him.
And I could talk my way out of anything.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I really hope that some charges will be.
Wow, no. The one of him on the ground in a public area and some parishioners find him. So
We'll have to go look that
I
one
have
up.
to look that one up. Because the one that we saw, it was supposed to be a friend of his. And his friend was nice enough to record him
Film it.
while he's on the ground having an episode. And I'm like, man, what a great friend. Like,
yeah, I mean, and definitely,
I think his neighbor is what it was.
I don't know. I think JP Miller really does control that congregation because they just seem so blind to attend.
Yeah. And the coercive control thing, it's, I would have to say if anything positive comes out of it is that they're looking to pass Micah's law, and which is to give prison sentences to individuals guilty of coercive control. And that would be amazing.
Yeah, we still don't have anything like that in Georgia. So there's work to be done.
And that's going to be a tough one, too. I will have to say, a law that deals with coercive control, because the definition is going to be either way too broad, and if anybody has even the ounce of it, it's going to be like, oh, coercive control, like it's going to be the thing that's going to be screamed about, or it's going to have absolutely no teeth, and the only way the burden of proof is going to be so high that nobody's ever going to be, acquitted of it. So it's a hard definition to pin down. I'm curious to see as far as legal goes. I'm not talking about just everyday life. We know it when we see it, but that's not you can't say legal defenses of you know it when you see it kind of thing. Yeah. Yeah. That's the one. Really high voice, barely coherent. Yeah. Yeah. Where he's outside the truck and screaming.
Yeah. Jeez.
That one was when I think the story was that he was told he couldn't see his kids because of something that was going on. And so he was on his way back and basically like lost his mind and
had the meltdown
and that.
He is a weird guy. He is a weird guy.
I just, I've been around enough Southern lawyers. I know how they behave, and I've never met.
You mean a Southern pastor?
Well, that too. I've met Southern lawyers too. But yes, I meant to say Southern pastor. Pasture. I'll put my teeth back. I'm not blaming this, but I'm totally blaming this. It's a good drink.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to lie. I have met enough Southern pastors. See, I just my speech impediment there. To know how.
Why do they call it a lisp? Why do they add the S?
Freaking. Are they doing it just to be mean?
Sorry, we just went on a tangent. We just saw this Jiminy Glick thing this morning about lisps.
Oh, so great. That was so great. I love Jiminy Glick.
Okay. Southern pastors.
Southern pastors, and I know how they all behave, and they are the model of genteel Southern hospitality. They talk very slow and very methodical, and this is the way they act, and they are just rocks. They are like, if there's a ripple, everybody notices. Like, because they like my Southern Baptist preacher that I went to go see, when he was in front of everybody, in front of the congregation, if he told a joke, people would like snap their heads, because that's just not him. He was rock solid. Now, once we were gone from everybody, he was hilarious and like a great guy to be around and stuff like that. But he definitely had that Southern kind of way about him, and the way he talks.
That's J.P. Miller.
But J.P. Miller is the opposite.
He's very emotional.
A turmoil, crazy, like, energy about him, and that just does not match that Southern kind of lawyer. And then maybe that's what his church is all about. We're not like regular Southern churches. We're new and we're non-denominational. And I can have psychotic breaks wearing Spider-Man outfits. Have you read his ex-wife's affidavit?
Yeah. Yeah.
I haven't read the affidavit, but I do know about it.
Yeah.
Did you read it?
I don't read, but yeah, I saw it. I throw the highlights and
that explains so much in our relationship.
Did you read it? Yeah, I don't read.
Here, sign this. Okay. Yeah, and I mean, good on her, because the funny thing is I see a lot of titles of stuff, and I know there's a lot of stuff going on, but I don't watch it or read it. Like, I'm like, I don't read. I just want information spoon-fed to me.
Yeah. Too lazy to read.
I read the title, and I make my whole opinion based on that title.
Based on the title.
Whether or not I agree or disagree with was sad.
Oh my God, you're terrible. You're gonna get canceled.
I'm surprised I haven't already, to be honest with you. All right. Well, I think we should end it there. This was fun. I'm glad we did this, and I definitely want to learn about Tim Ballard now.
Yeah. We'll do a podcast about Tim Ballard because I think he deserves.
He's a piece of work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Chef's kiss.
Yeah. Tim Ballard. Because I'm curious. There's a lot of stuff I don't know about him. Mm-hmm. And I'm curious to dig deep into. I know the highlights of that he's not a great person, but I want to know specifically what he's done, what he's accused of.
Right. And the other one too is we want to look at the CAN network as well, or CAN as well, which is the
Cult Awareness Network.
Cult Awareness Network, which they have their own sordid kind of history as well. Mm-hmm. So we'll be doing some more videos on that, and excited to see what our next couple of weeks. We got a lot to deal with.
Yeah. So if the Reed verdict comes back, we'll go live again. We can get our drink or coffee on with that. Guilty, not guilty, hung jury.
Yeah. I'm going to say not guilty. That's my guts telling me is not guilty.
Don't know. I think not guilty or hung jury. Either one.
Yeah. I'm just going to say not guilty.
Not guilty.
Now, that doesn't mean I say she's guilty or not. I'm just going by the trial, and I'm going to say not guilty.
Yep.
So, all right. Well, thank you, everybody, for watching. Appreciate you, and hope you guys have a great rest of your Tuesday. It is Tuesday, right?
It's Tuesday.
It's Tuesday.
Yep.
Thanks a lot.